My name is Oge, and with me here is Alera. You're welcome to Sip and Share. This is a channel where we talk about marriage. We talk about how marriage has been so far, for newlyweds, for singles, for intending to be married, for those who have been married for a couple of years, because for both of us, between the both of us, we've been married for 25 years. Alara has been married for 11 years, and I have been married
Hello.
for 10 years. All right, Alera, I would hand over to you to please talk to our viewers.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our channel. And before we go on, if you have not liked or subscribed to our channel, please do so. And make sure you toggle at the notification bell so that you can get notices when we post out new content. Today, we are here again to talk about something that is very, very important to work on in marriage, which is conflict resolution. I am a big believer that conflicts are bound to happen. So yeah, communication is key, but I feel like it's even conflict resolution is even more important because obviously you're going to have conflicts, you're going to have quarrels. In Yoruba, they say the tongue and the teeth, even though they are in the same place, they still fight. So imagine that two people from different backgrounds are married, living in the same house, and life is just throwing different curveballs at them. They are bound to quarrel all the time, or at least most of the time. But how do you mitigate? How do you like when it starts up? So that's what we are here to look about. Oge, do you want to tell us a little bit more about what conflict is and what are the common triggers for conflicts?
Okay, so conflict is basically a misunderstanding. It's a misunderstanding between two people. Now, in marriage, conflict is a misunderstanding between a husband and a wife. And some of the triggers for a husband and wife could be the finances, it could be the communication. Some couples don't know how to communicate properly, and it could also be parenting styles.
Yeah. So yeah, basically, sometimes like we tend to see a lot of people argue about money, you know. It doesn't matter if you have like the whole money in the world or you have even just a little, right? I think these are things that we need to, even though we talk about them before we get married, they become very real in marriage, and sometimes we just don't wrap our head around how to disburse money or something like okay, classic example, I'm a spender, my husband is more cautious with money, right, which is very odd. Right, me, I'm a yellow person. You only live once. But my husband, obviously, he's more cautious about how we spend money and what we need to use money for, right? Earlier on in the marriage, we didn't have a lot of conflict over finances per se because I was able to let go and let him. It was easier for me, being that he's the man. So it was easier for me to let go and let him. He had a accommodation on standby. He had savings. My husband is a more conservative person when it comes to saving. I'm more I'm a big spender, but I'm not like somebody who neglects to do her duties or her responsibilities. So mine is the way I have been brought up is what I have a budget for every month, right? And I stick to my budget. If I need to pay the bills, like maybe the Wi-Fi, the telephone bills, I need to do something for the kids next month. So I put it in my budget. And after I've done that, the remaining money is YOLO. Right? So, but my husband is not like that because obviously he's got more on his plate than I do. But the point is that in the beginning of our marriage, we were able to speak to each other and find a common ground, right?
Okay.
I'm not, I, I let not to demand too much from him because obviously if he's not doing it for himself, he's probably not going to do it for me or do it for, if he's not frivolous with his money, he's not going to come and be frivolous with his money with me. So it's like that. And it's okay to understand that my major needs were being met. I had security. The kids have security. We had food on our table constantly. It didn't really matter if we were living in a big building or we were driving numerous cars, right? We had one car which was functional for both of us. So I think understanding these things and understanding, having a goal, having a common goal, having a common mindset just makes conflict a little less, or conflict a little less. It occurs a little less. So I would say we've not had issues concerning finances. Right now, communication is another story.
Yes.
Right. So this is where I feel like we have more problems in communicating. Right. You can communicate with the best intention and it comes across to the next person as total rubbish, right? Do you understand?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. What's been your experience with communication, crossing wires when you're talking about certain things? What's your experience like?
Okay, before I got married, I had this friend back my childhood. I wouldn't even call her my friend because she was way older than me. She was my elder sister's friend. But then I stole her from my elder sister and then we became friends. Honestly, God bless that lady because I learned so much from her and I still learn from her. So before I got married, before my wedding, I think few days to my wedding or few weeks to my wedding, she came to see me and then we're talking and everything. The gift she gave me a pre-wedding gift and it was series of marriage advices from her pastor. They had this marriage series.
Mm.
So it was different like that, finances, communication, so many things like that. It was a big CD of, unfortunately these days we don't even use CDs anymore. I wish I'm telling you, I wish I actually burnt
I
them,
don't
Maybe
know.
I would have had them. I would have had them handy anytime, any day, because they were really good. But thankfully, my husband's car back then had CDs. So we usually would slot it in while we drive. Maybe we're going for one counseling, this marriage calls, or we're taking a drive to check halls, to check anything. We're always listening to it. So one thing she told me was about communication. She said that she has noticed that couples don't know how to communicate,
Mm.
that people don't communicate right. And I will give you examples of what she said. And it's actually manifested in my marriage in the first few years of it, where you have an issue with the person. And then the issue you're talking about is, sweetheart, I don't like that this cup stays here because it's at the edge. It would fall down. But then your husband feels, oh, every time you're always complaining that I keep the cup here. Why are you complaining? It doesn't make me less a tidy person, blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, it is the cup we're talking about. We're not talking about you. So communication can be misinterpreted. It can be misinterpreted, unfortunately. So communicating right is very important. It is
Right.
very important. And well, I don't want to talk much about this, but I was lucky, or myself and my husband were lucky to attend a marriage series like that. What will I call it now? It's called Marriage Encounter, where we encounter ourselves. So we were taught how to communicate. And since then, really, it has helped us really
I'd,
grow.
I'd
And
say I'd say in our 10 years of marriage, that's one place that we really struggled with. So right,
yes,
why I'm a big person of why I'm bigger on conflict resolution was
yes,
because we had big challenges concerning communication, right? And
yeah,
I'm a very vocal person.
yeah.
If you do me dirty, I'll call you right there and say, "Guy, you did me dirty." Well, it's so interesting that you get to marry like somebody who's totally different from you, right? I'm not saying that maybe if he did that to me, I probably wouldn't be able to take it, but that's the way like because I would not be able to sleep. But he's a very chilled person, right? So say for example, and he's Yoruba, he's very Yoruba. And some of the things, the way he says it, it rubs off on me as very maybe not right or not rude, or like you could have said it in a nicer way. And then I get offended. Then he's like, "What did I say?" Like I'm like,
I
"No,
get
you have
that.
said it this way.
I
It would have
get that.
landed differently." And his major point was, "Babe, you said I don't know how to talk. How can I talk to you?" I'm like,
Oh,
"Yeah, but like why not be nicer to me?" He's like, "Well, I'm being nice. I can't play with you." I'm like, but having that's why I say a lot of the times that childhood trauma sometimes. I tend to be
yes.
more serious. I tend to be more serious. I tend to be I don't play all the time. It took conscious effort to play all the time. So at those points, we were crossing wires a lot. We were crossing wires a lot in our communication style. Like you said, in missing the point of discussion.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like you said about the cup, we are talking about the cup. How did you, not being a tidy person, now come into this discussion?
Yes.
Yeah, and you know that sometimes when these things happen, we begin to fight dirty. I call it fight dirty, in the sense that we are talking about how to get the pig out of the mud, and then both of us just get down, we just start splashing, blah, blah, blah. Then everyone gets dirty at the end of the day, and we don't end up doing what we're supposed to do, or like setting the point, So I'd say mainly communication is big, but also being able to focus, have that laser focus on the topic of discussion. What are we talking about? We are talking about, it could be funny things, that could be something really, really simple. I'm going to do like a random, silly thing. Why did you not close the toothpaste? Oh, babe, I forgot literally. Maybe the thing dropped and I didn't see it. Kalas, okay. It won't happen again. Kalas, you walk away. But then I come in and say, but did I leave it open yesterday? Have I not been closing it? That's not the point. We're asking you today, madam, why did you not close the toothpaste? Right. Being laser focused on the topic of discussion helps us to resolve faster. Being quick to ask, to say sorry. And I'm not just saying, okay, sorry. I'm not just saying that.
Sincere sorry.
Sincerely, right? There was a situation between me and my husband earlier this year, and he was upset that I did something. I'm not going to go into details of what I did, but I did that thing out of love, right? I felt that, if he was in my shoe, he would do it for me. But apparently, he didn't really like what I did, So he comes at me and says, "Oh, babe, why would you make that decision without me?" The first thing I said, "I'm sorry." He goes like, huh? Man was ready for Basbos. Man was ready for the Basbos, the usual Basbos. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't really mean it. I thought I was doing it for you.
Yeah.
Then he looks, he says, okay. And then the phone goes on. When he comes home, he still can't believe that we're not having a full blowout argument about what I did, right? He comes home and he's like, but I said, babe, I'm sorry, it will not happen again, And I felt proud of myself to be able to, if it was me, usually I'd have gone, is it not you I'm doing it for, whoa. But this year I just said to myself, there's no point in if he says he doesn't like it, then he doesn't like it. He cannot like what he does not like, right? So if I'm learning to say, okay, I'm sorry, and I really mean that I'm sorry, and believe me, I meant it, and I'm not probably not going to do it ever again, because now I know that he doesn't like it. Also just being genuine about the things that you like and the things that you don't like. I always say pick your battles.
Right?
Pick your battles. It's not what he's fighting over everything. You just, at the end of the day, grow old quickly, get a headache constantly, which is not good for anyone, So I tend to pick my battles these days also, Another major thing is parenting styles. Have you found that you get like constant back and forth over parenting style, or have you always had a concession on the way you plan to raise your children?
Yes. Parenting is, I always tell people that parenting is a very tough job. I think it's the toughest thing in marriage, really. Because if it is just you and I'm talking now, imagining a couple that have no kids, right? If it's just the two of them, it's easy. At least they know that they are trying to get to know each other. But when the kids are in the mix, it's a different thing.
It's probably the hardest thing in your life, not just in marriage. In life, you're being responsible for somebody else,
For somebody else, taking decisions that you are sure you would pray that those decisions are the right decisions, because if it's a decision about you, you know that, okay, this is what I want. But the decision that has to do with the child, you don't want it to go wrong. You don't want that child to grow up and that decision is the wrong decision for that child. So
Yeah.
it's very tough. So for myself and my husband, of course, in the first few phases of our kids' lives, I took all the decisions because I knew what I wanted for my children, and I was always open to learning. I talk with people, I Google, I read a lot about. In fact, when I was pregnant for my first son, I knew so much that the doctor told me that he thought I was in the medical field. When he's telling me, oh, you have Braxton Hicks, or you have this, you have that, I tell him, okay, yes, I actually suspected it was Braxton Hicks. That's why he didn't come in when the contraction started and everything. So he was like, how did you know that word? How did you know? I read so much. I was that prepared, you know. But one thing that didn't prepare me is the fact that when you now have two kids, they would also be having their own issues. And as they grow, you have to make plans for them, decisions for what they would, where they would study, what they would study, how they would do things, how they would even learn conflict resolutions with
Within
themselves.
themselves, absolutely.
Yes. So one thing I struggled with was the fact that I even had to give my husband to, I just had to tell him straight up. I would tell my kids, okay, I want to build up a routine for you, which is important as
Mhm.
a parent. If your kids don't have routine, then they will be almost unruly,
Yeah.
right? So I had to build a routine for them. And then before I know what's happening, I say, okay, go to bed at 6. And then I'm not at home and the kids are still awake till like 7:30. What are they doing? Like, hey, they want to do. I said, no, we don't do things like this. We do things like this. You break our routine.
Mm.
When you break our routine, then it feels as if it is a mommy thing. This is mommy, mommy is coming to shout. This is mommy, mommy is coming to react.
Mm.
Meanwhile, it's supposed to be a parenting thing. We are co-parenting these children. We are mommy and daddy for them. And we have to be there. I have to know that you are backing me on this decision, except
Decision.
you don't agree with me. That's how I presented it to him. This was in the tone I told him. And that's when he realized. So when I tell him, when I tell the kids, go and do this, I keep quiet. And then I hear him from behind say, didn't you hear your mommy?
Yeah.
Will you? Yeah. And I'm like, okay, now he's getting it. So actually, that was how we were able to align a
Like,
bit
mm.
parenting.
I do think that men can sometimes tend to be, more laid back, right? And we always feel like the brunt of the parenting is on us, which sometimes it is, right? But
Yeah.
like you said, having them on the same page as us is very, very vital. And so I think these are things that we need to sit down and talk about, right? I want you to be able to say, oh, don't speak to your mother like that. Oh, don't, if your mother has said to it, I like when in a family, if the wife says something, even if the kids are just babbling around, once the man says it, you're going straight, no argument there. So the man
Yes.
always has to be the tough person. So I think it is very vital that couples sit together and decide what their parenting style will be. You know, I find that some people are let's follow the flow kind of people, and it's fine, right? But like for people like you and I that have like a strong routine, you know, we need to be able to make sure that our spouses are on the same page with us. My kids come home from school, they have lunch and they go to bed at noon. Yes, my kids sleep at noon. And this is how I have managed them from birth till now. Every time they sleep at noon, because that's a routine for them. So by the time they're eating lunch, they're already saying, oh, mom, it's time to go to bed, right? And then they pack up their things and go to bed. When they wake up, it's time for homework. After homework, they have dinner. Dinner, they play a little, and then they go to bed. So they have a routine, which my husband is very aware of. So he tends to like help follow the routine. So sometimes I find that we grow up, we had a routine when I was growing up,
Yes. Same.
right? And sometimes it's not necessarily the same with your partner.
Yes.
He
Yes.
he might not understand why do they have that routine. When we were younger, we were allowed to go to bed at whatever time we wanted. So it might be like that for him. Now, how do you merge the ideas from both sides? Do you get?
Yes.
To make your house run smoothly, to make your children adhere to your decisions, right? So there's always a common ground, as I would say.
So, for example, weekends are okay to stay up till maybe like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, play games, yeah, have fun. That's the middle ground. School nights, you go to bed on so time at so time. It is not just for you, it is also for the children. Brain develops better when they have enough sleep. Also, you get to have enough time with your partner when you have a me time, you know? So I think explaining this kind of things to your spouse and talking about it helps even reduce. Also, he's going to see reason behind why you're doing what you're doing, or why you're saying what you're saying, or she's going to see reason behind why you're doing what you're doing, you know? So it makes it easier to not butt head over things like that. But then when you finally inevitably butt heads, what do we do? You know, what do we
Communication.
do? Yeah.
Communication. That's where
So
communication comes in.
we'll 100% go into how to conflict resolute in our next episode.
Yes. Because it's so broad that I think we cannot finish it today. But communication is a key thing in marriage.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think in our next video, we'll talk broadly about communication and how to communicate right.
Yeah. Right. So thank you for watching us today, and I hope you've enjoyed our videos. If you have any pressing issues you'd like us to talk about, if you have any or any ideas on things that you would like to hear from us, please drop us a comment in the comment section or send us an email on sipandsharewithogeandalero@gmail.com. Now, hurry up, like, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time on Sip and Share with Oge and Alero. Have a nice day. Yeah. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.